when I left my job at Tesla and started PowerShelter.
So you come from Canada, right?
I would say Europe is becoming a better place because you can make the best product in the world, but if it's not practical to use and nobody uses it, you don't have a product. Airbnb, but for toilets. The point of the 30% ruling is help people feel like they're getting a little bit back from where they haven't maybe gotten free university or free childcare and stuff like that.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unit City Podcast.
Hi and welcome back to the Unit City Podcast. So Unit City helps entrepreneurs and people who want to move to the Netherlands from legal matters, from personal to professional stuff, so immigration, taxation and other stuff. So, and today I want to introduce and meet Brett.
That's me.
Yeah, nice to meet you. So, co-founder and CEO of PowerShelter, right? So, and yeah, your company helps the fire. You have fire-safe walkers, like help people to charge, and the right way.
Yeah.
So to be more convenient, if you can introduce yourself, please.
Yeah. My name is Brett Bouthillier. I'm co-founder and CEO of PowerShelter. And you touched on it really well. So we started this company out of necessity because living here in the Netherlands, the bike capital of the world, we saw that there was a need for something like this. As more people moved towards e-biking, they didn't really have a place to put and charge their battery, whether it be at home or at work, and do it safely. And we had this problem when I worked at Tesla, where people were commuting out quite far out of the city with their e-bikes. They were charging at their desks. The insurance companies didn't like it, the property manager, nobody liked that. And I said, there's got to be a better solution, and there wasn't. So we decided to make it. And that's where we're at now with our company. So
this is how idea was born, right?
Yeah, there's a few things. It was kind of leading up to things. So my co-founder, Jake, and I, we had met right after COVID started when I'd moved here, right at the beginning of COVID. And we were both kind of entrepreneurial minded and wanted to think of something. So we went through a few different ideas of what we wanted to start. Some funnier ones that were like Airbnb, but for toilets, where you could find a toilet anywhere you were in the city, which was a cool idea. Or hiring and reutilizing private chefs from normal restaurants, bringing them to your house for private cooking during COVID. And then eventually we landed on this idea because we saw it was the biggest need. And we experienced that ourselves with batteries, so not being able to put them anywhere.
So you come from Canada, right? So when was the moment that you decided, okay, so I wanted to move to Europe, and especially for Netherlands?
So part of my heritage was French, so that's my last name, Bouthillier. And my whole life I had been kind of obsessed with going to France, and we had never traveled to Europe ever. And I really wanted to go, and when I did my business studies at university, I was offered to do the exchange program. I went to France and just fell in love with the European culture. I was living in Marseille in southern France and met a whole bunch of people from all over Germany, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Sweden, Finland. And I just said, I love this and I love the culture here and I wanted to move back. And so I made it my goal to do so. And so when I graduated back home, I kind of found a hockey team that I could come and play for in Germany, earn a little bit of money, have a side job, and came over to Germany with the intent of doing my master's. And that's how it kind of led. So in 2015, I moved from Canada to Germany, lived there for around 5 years in Munich.
5 years?
Yeah.
So you know German?
I speak German, yeah.
Another one, and Dutch as well?
Yeah. And
because
French.
I heard,
yeah.
Just a little bit background.
Yeah. No, I have a Dutch wife, so I don't speak to her very often in Dutch. But when I first moved here, I made it kind of a mission to learn it, because I do think it's an important aspect of living in a culture, of being able to speak the language, even if in Amsterdam you don't often need it. And very often, if you speak English, or you speak Dutch, you see they spoke English back to us, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
straight away. Yes, when
Yeah.
you start to pronounce,
Yeah.
just to realize
I think it's still important to learn, and I've kind of done that for everywhere I've moved. So I've lived in a few countries now, and I've always wanted to learn the language for that.
It's a good question, to be honest. How long did it take for you to get some kind of, level that you feel like, okay, I'm a little bit confident to really start discussion and understanding?
I think it depends how much you study. I think the Duolingo stuff, not going to cut it. You really have to, if you want to learn a language, you really have to immerse yourself. And so everywhere I moved, I would do 3 hours, usually a day, for the first little while. And one of the things I always said to people was, so let's do a scenario here. I'll say, okay, you want to learn Dutch, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna teach you how to learn Dutch. So what did you do 2 weeks ago on Wednesday evening? Do you remember?
Okay.
Do you remember what you did?
Yeah, I do.
You do? What did you do?
Evening. I sent my family
Sure.
to Germany. I remember.
Yeah, but you were just chilling at home, probably, or on one.
No,
most
I
evenings.
was on my way, on my own
Sure.
way. Yes.
Okay, but it wasn't anything that was like super big, right? So it could be a random Tuesday or a Thursday. Like very often in the evenings, people are just kind of hanging out, right? Watching Netflix or doing something like that, right? So those few hours, you're not doing anything super, super important a lot of the times. And if I said to you, Wadim, right now, you pay me, let's say, 3,000 euros, and I'll put Dutch in your head, would you pay that money? Now you could speak perfect Dutch, right?
Yeah.
So we've established that the money isn't the issue, right? That's what the value you put on the language. And then we've established that you do have a couple hours that you could give up of stuff that you were normally doing. So 6 months from now, if you grinded out the language for, let's say, 3 hours a day, constantly for 6 hours, you wouldn't remember the time that you gave up learning the language.
Yeah.
And we've established that the money isn't an issue. So that's where you go. In that 6 months, you could essentially learn a language by paying a little bit, because I do think you should do classes. Not everyone can afford it, but there are stuff online and stuff that's a little cheaper, like online classes and stuff.
The same, to be honest, this is what I do, like when I read books, just I love morning time. So I have like a 1 hour from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. daily. Whatever happens, like I try not to change it, not to skip it.
Yeah.
But what is 1 hour? Yes, it's not too much. But if I read every single day, it matters.
It adds up, exactly. And you need to, it's a good analogy as well. You do need to stick with it. And the Duolingo stuff, it's good for grammar and stuff, but you really need to be conversing, you need stuff like that. And that's how I think that's the easiest way to learn a language in my mind.
So you just committed, right? So because you moved and you realized, okay, I want to know language. Because to be honest, I also still feel like this is something that I miss. Like even like just not even for professional wise, but even for personal stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
Yes, when I go somewhere, I want to discuss with someone. English is great. Okay, that's fine. People can communicate, but when people start speaking Dutch and I understand some, I do understand. But I can answer because I have no practice.
Yeah. It doesn't get any easier as you get older either. So it's better to start now as you can. And so, that's always been kind of my mentality. And again, in Amsterdam, one of the things is it's really hard to practice because
absolutely
you go and speak, and either the person working there doesn't speak Dutch natively, and then you're both struggling together, or the person speaking Dutch is already half speaking in English for the whole day and just commits fully to English just because it's easier for their mind. So it's a hard place to learn Dutch in like a natural, real environment, I think. So yeah.
Okay, great for advice, because I think it's also very important, for people who wants to move, because they might ask sometimes. I mean, everyone probably quite familiar with that. Like it's very well, like English country, I would say, right? So I mean, everyone speaks English. A part of small villages are might be some. Little percentage that people can speak like only Dutch, but most of the cities like Amsterdam,
I think it's like 99.9% of people can hold a conversation in Dutch.
Yes,
so
that's for sure.
If you find the 1%, then the 0.1%, then you should be speaking Dutch. So there's your practice. Don't leave them.
So it's a great point that people, if they want to move, so they know, like, okay, it's not a barrier, so they can move and they can start speaking.
Definitely not a barrier. And honestly, it's probably one of the nicest things about moving to the Netherlands is how accommodating it is to people that don't speak Dutch or don't learn the language, right? Versus when I moved to France, this is so I speak French, and even there in France, where a lot of it's like Marseillaise accent, I struggled, and a lot of other people of like the Erasmus students or exchange students struggled as well, because besides the bureaucracy where in order to get a French bank account, I needed a French phone number. But to get a French phone number, I needed a French bank account. You know, like, how does that work?
And to have a bank account, you have to have a BSN number.
Yeah,
it's like a problem chicken egg.
Yeah,
yes?
exactly, exactly. So, and then you have to speak French on top of it, because nobody's going to speak English to you. So you have to learn the language there. And even in Germany still, while they do speak good English, and most people that, let's say, internationals would interact with, the Germans speak good English, there's still a lot of Germans that don't, or would prefer German. And so it was needed for me, I would say, to live in Germany to learn and speak German. So
my experience, personal, I just went a couple of years ago. I went to Cologne.
Yeah.
And I remember just went to McDonald's just to buy some stuff.
Yeah.
And I was starting speaking English, and man just look at me and just answer, German.
Yeah.
And then I realized sometimes, okay, because I used to, yes, in the Netherlands, and he understood that I don't speak German, so I have nothing to tell.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, like sometimes this kind of approach, especially in Germany, I realize, like, for sure, if it's Berlin, if it's some kind of probably Munich, yes, it's also quite good. But if you go somewhere, it's not the same like in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
You have to study German to be able to.
And it is getting better there, where a lot of companies, like large German companies like Volkswagen, have, I think, in the last 5 years, changed their official language to English internally and stuff. So it's becoming more international, because I think a lot of European companies are seeing the value in bringing over kind of people from outside. There's this wealth of knowledge and talent and of people that live outside of the countries where they're operating, and by switching to more international language, they can bring over those people and make it easier for them to work. So it's definitely, I would say, Europe is becoming a better place in general for international business and working in English. So
okay, so yeah, at least we've got that experience with you, yes. And for people who wants to move, they would definitely know like English is not a problem.
Yeah.
In the Netherlands, definitely, and we just face that.
I mean,
way.
In the Netherlands, all of every website you can get in English pretty much.
Yeah.
Right. And every documents they send you can get in English. Even the crazy thing to me is even the signs that say "Go out and vote" are in English. Like if you're voting, you should be Dutch. You should be speaking Dutch, and the signs are in English. So that just shows how international it is in Amsterdam and how accommodating it is.
It's a big advantage of the country, because I do understand it's a small country, right? So the most important that they got money is from import-export, right? From the big harbor for instance, we have in Rotterdam.
Yeah.
So, and they do understand, okay, this is our advantage that we can speak, so we can, allocate more people. It's like a big advantage, definitely.
It's something that in the Netherlands, I think they've done a good job over the years as a country in bringing over talent, from the 30% ruling for companies, the negotiating tax for companies, 30% ruling for employees. I think they saw very early that the food exports and tulips and maybe microchips probably weren't enough to sustain a whole economy. To bring over talent to become kind of a service-oriented industry was smart, and I think they've done a good job of doing that here. So,
yeah, that's for sure. And we just start speaking about 30% ruling for it's also very important topic that so you also got it, right? So
I had it. I lost it.
You lost it.
Well, when I left my job at Tesla and started PowerShelter and went full time with PowerShelter, I had to give up the 30% ruling.
Yeah, because you change a company. Yes, it's like a rule.
Exactly, and as like any founder, when I went full time, I didn't take a salary for quite a bit of time, and so can't get 30% on nothing, right?
Yeah, you can, because it's a startup. You just invest your own money or just have no salary. There's no advantage even to hold this kind of privilege, right?
Yeah.
So, but 30% ruling is nice also, right, for expats to attract them. So it's a little bit helps with the taxation.
Totally. I guess the 30% ruling was a really good idea to entice people, because Netherlands does have a fairly high tax rate. And
For sure.
for most people to look outside in and say, I could move there, but I'm going to pay 40% of my tax or 49% above this amount, you haven't been able to realize the benefits of that, right? So the point of the 30% ruling is, as you probably know, is to help people feel like they're getting a little bit back from where they haven't maybe gotten free university or free childcare and stuff like that, and integrate them more, get them used to it, and say, okay, soften the blow of the tax rate coming here. And then by the end of the 5 or 8 years, it used to be 5 years, you now feel like you can benefit from society, from the government. And personally now, I'm quite happy to pay my taxes here because I really see where they're going.
Being Ukrainian also, it's always like a big topic in Ukraine, right? When money went. So what was done? So it was always like a question, really.
Yeah.
I also do see it here. For instance, I pay, but I still have like 30% ruling, which just expires within 2 years.
Yeah.
So it's really great. But it's also, from other side, sometimes I have discussion with Dutch people, and they think it's not fair.
Yeah.
Which is also can be like that. I mean, because we also don't understand. But from other side, the arguments that I have, like, okay, this is a way that country attracts, right, some talents, some people to move.
Totally, because otherwise they would just go somewhere else with a lower tax rate, or like
Dubai, for instance.
Dubai. Well, I'll say this though: a year before you lose your tax 30% ruling, just put that money the extra money you would get, put it aside. Save it up and already start to try and live as if you don't have that 30% ruling. Get used to it. And that is something that I wish I had done, because when I stopped, it was like, whoa, this is a huge difference. And
I really understand. So I also, because then it's like a clip, and you have to pay more. You have the same, for instance, amount, but you can get less cash in your bank account, like a netto.
Exactly.
Okay, great. So your journey went from Canada to the UK, then to the Netherlands.
I went from Canada to France, then France to Germany, Germany to the UK, and UK to Netherlands.
Okay, I see. And why, I mean, what can you say about the London, for instance? Because I also thought like it's still like great also, city, and the UK country itself. Like,
I love London. I love the UK in general. It's, especially being from Canada, there's a little bit of like this like homey feeling to it, where there's something resonates with the culture, and it is nice, even though 99% of the time here I speak English in the Netherlands, it's still just conversing with other English natives. There's just something about it in the UK, and I mean, the pub culture is incredible. It's something that I've very vocally said the Netherlands could use better pub culture, rather than just wooden chairs that aren't super comfortable for a long amount of time. That is great. And the UK does a lot of things really, really well. And I think, the culture, especially in London, the international culture, getting everyone together at pubs, drinking outside after work, it's awesome. And I loved it there. And I love traveling the country. There's so many different parts of it that are cool, so many different accents. Every different region is different in its own way. And
absolutely.
I really do miss the UK a lot.
Because I started my English in Oxford. So 1 more year. So I had committed like 10 years ago that I want to find like a place that I want to study English. And it was Oxford because I had, a big team and I was looking for the same time zone. So I considered the US, Canada, also like, Australia, some of the countries, but I realized, can I stay and work like with a different time zone within 1 year? No, it's really hard. So I decided to move to the UK, and it was nice time.
And you lived in Oxford.
Yeah, 1
beautiful
year.
Little town. It's probably, I think
insane,
it's the bike capital of the UK, they call it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's insane, to be honest. I studied like a lot. I read a lot of books, to be honest, at the time, different languages. I had enough time, so I just came to my partner and said, wouldn't you mind if I just come to the UK, just study my English within 1 year? Would you be able to operate business without me? Because I want to be properly focused,
Amazing.
Except yes, you could do that. And I was lucky, to be honest.
The UK is great. It's a shame they're can't move there anymore, can't go there freely anymore if we wanted to.
Yeah. Because of Brexit, you mean like probably also, yes,
Yeah.
because it's also now, it's,
And that's one of the reasons why the Netherlands is becoming more and more English, even more so than before, because a lot of people, let's say from countries where they don't typically have stronger English, will typically move to London for a year, right? Like
Yeah.
you move to the UK, learn English, then maybe move back home having that kind of ability to speak English. But you can't do that anymore now that they're out of the EU. So where's the second best place to move to learn English? Ironically, it's the Netherlands. So you move here to learn English or to improve your English. It's
Absolutely.
just kind of funny. So
Okay, let's speak about career foundations. So you worked at major companies like Shell and Tesla, right? Two very different worlds.
Yeah.
I would say. What did each environment teach you? I mean, because
So I grew up in Alberta, which some people know, but it's kind of a huge oil province, right? So it's dominated by the oil industry. Everyone is one separation away from somebody who works in the oil industry if they're not directly in it. And for me, that was kind of just the natural progression was graduate my bachelor's, go work in oil and gas, make a lot of money, buy a house in the suburbs and have a family and kids and do the Alberta thing. And, you know, especially after living in France, that wasn't for me. I didn't want that. And I also kind of didn't want to work in the oil industry anymore.
because it's boring, or just it's very traditional, or it's just you.
I mean, yeah, the oil industry, it's not super, most people don't work in like an innovative side of the business, right? You're doing the same thing over and over. It's very cyclical. Oil's pumping out of the ground. And just from like it wasn't what I wanted to do in the future. I wanted to be a part of something that was probably better for the future and made me feel a little bit more excited about working for them, right? I'm not going to pretend like we don't need oil in the world. Like we do need it to some degree, but working in that industry wasn't something that was what I wanted to do. So I naturally looked to Europe, especially in the early 2010s, where the renewable energy kind of revolution was starting to pick up. Solar was getting cheaper and wind farms were coming up, started getting battery storage and stuff. And that was what I wanted to be a part of, which is why I looked towards Germany, because they had a lot of master's programs that were in renewable energy.
So you worked in Tesla, right?
Yeah.
What did you do there? So what can you please explain to me a little bit about your experience? I'm really curious because I used to car. Yes, I have Tesla.
Yeah. Tesla was a really cool company to work for. When I started in, I think it was 2017, especially in the UK. So I didn't work on the car side, as I worked on the energy side of the business, so which meant the battery storage side. A lot of people still don't know that exists, but Tesla kind of leveraged their existing knowledge on batteries for the cars and put them for home or industrial usage, right? So as I mentioned, as renewables started growing, you need a way to kind of like hedge how you're going to use energy, right? So the sun isn't always shining, the wind isn't always blowing. So if you're developing all of this renewable energy, what do you do during the off-peak times where it's not, right? And so there's a few solutions in terms of like storage, like dams, right? Like hydro pumping dams, or but one of them was batteries, and because batteries became more viable, you could bring them in. And so I was working on the team that kind of did Powerwall sales, which was the individual Powerwalls for homes, for people. And the idea being that you could leverage your existing solar or install new solar, charge up your battery during the day when you're maybe at work, and then use that energy for free at nighttime and don't have to pay the tariff, right?
Which is great, really. Yes, it saves a lot of money, because if you use it constantly, I think per year you can save a lot of money.
And one of the things that I'm really happy about that I did there, and it's what I wrote my master's thesis on, was for people in fuel poverty. So do you know what fuel poverty is? Yeah, so for people that don't know, it's essentially something like 20% of the UK lives in worse conditions than poverty. So for fuel poverty means you're living in poverty but also can't afford to heat your home up to the minimum, which I think is like 17, 18 degrees to prevent adverse health effects.
Yeah.
So people literally cannot afford, they have to choose between food and heat, right? And so what we did was, at Tesla, was looked into, okay, can we install these batteries in people's homes, allow them to charge up the batteries, and have the ability to use that energy for free and reduce the amount that they need to spend on energy costs, right? Lifting them out of fuel poverty and maybe even out of poverty, because prices for energy are quite expensive, right? It can mean the difference between dinner, if meals twice a day, 3 times a day, to 1 a day, right? It's a really sad reality. So that was something that we as a team worked on in Tesla there. So
really great, yes, because I mean, yeah, it's prices also for energy here. It's quite a lot. For instance, I personally pay like the same amount, every month, because it's more convenient.
Yeah, it's easier to
Otherwise,
budget for
you
it.
could pay like a lot during times kind of like winter time,
Yeah.
I'd say, right? Or that starts from, I don't know, October, November till March, for instance. Yeah, it's much cheaper.
If you want to heat your home here in the Netherlands, sometimes in winter to like 21, if you have bad insulation, it could be like €1,000 a month sometimes, which is just crazy.
Yeah.
It can really get up there if you have a bad home, and if you're renting, especially, it is one problem with Amsterdam is the housing market is really hard to crack to find a home. And if you do find a home, you don't really care about the energy label. You just take what you can get a lot of the times, and so you might get stuck with an E rating, and all the heat to heat your home is just heating the outside. So.
Especially for old buildings, right? So it's like really, it's not very efficient. Really. Like
exactly.
I don't know, label E or even less, like D.
Because
I have A2 plus, like
wow.
plus. It's quite good. Yeah. So I feel like, okay, even like what I expected, I'm not going to pay, because it's really especially like plus than outside. So it's absolutely, we don't use like heating. We have full heating, so
I'm definitely not that lucky. I think my place is like a D or an E rating, so we spend a lot on energy, but put it on a sweater can save you hundreds a month. So,
Okay, great. So looking back, what the specific project at the moment at Tesla that plans, you planned the seat for PowerShelter?
I think it was a few things. So as I lived in Europe more and started to realize that car dependency was a problem for society, I think I started looking at, okay, how can I live my life without a car, right? And in London, I didn't need a car, and I was like, life is better, right? It was ironic because I was working for a car company, but I was always like a fan of that, and I was always a fan of driving. Like, I love cars, I love Formula One, I knew everything about cars, watched Top Gear, everything, right? And I still do love cars, but I don't think they have as much of a place in society as they do now. And so I was always looking at like, okay, where can I live where I can cycle and walk 99% of the time? And the Netherlands was one of those things. So when I had the opportunity to move here with Tesla, I said, yeah, absolutely, let's go there. And so working on the battery side of the business, and then seeing the supercharging and seeing the development of energy and charging infrastructure, kind of putting those together made it click that, okay, we have batteries for bikes and we have charging for cars. Why don't we have charging for bikes? And it didn't exist. And that's kind of how it...
So it didn't exist properly on the market?
It still doesn't really. I mean, if you look at the market for charging bikes, everyone just charges at home. And it's usually really, really unsafe because they're charging it on the ground, in their laundry room, at the door. There's no proper place to charge your battery at home. And then when you get to work, there's no proper place to charge it at work. You're charging it on your desk, or in the parking garages sometimes where the cables are hanging and you're charging it in your bike, and that presents problems from unsafe charging practices, theft as well, where a lot of these bike racks that have outlets, they don't get used, because if you do get used, people steal the chargers, which are often worth like €100. So that's a interesting problem, and those were the problems that we wanted to kind of solve.
Okay, and I want to discuss a little bit about your, your journey in
Yeah.
like being an entrepreneur, because I'm also myself
Yeah.
an entrepreneur, and how did you find the right people? What is it? Because I strongly believe like people are key, right?
Yeah.
So it's definitely
No, definitely.
Like a key.
You're exactly right. So obviously, as a startup, when you're early stages, you can't pay salaries, right? So you need to find people that are equally wanting to put their extra time in, and very often working on top of your job, right? So for a while there was three of us, myself, Jake, and Gus, and we all just worked evenings. So we'd finish work. Very often it was quite late with Tesla, and then I would work until the early morning hours, like 2 a.m., get up, 8, work for Tesla again until 7, 8 p.m., and then do it all again. And we all did that for about a year in the early stages of like trying to figure out this company and set it up. And as we brought on more people, still to this day, some of our people that work for us aren't taking a salary, right? They work beside their job, but obviously we give everyone kind of equity in the company because we know eventually it's going to pay off, right? When our company is worth a lot and we can eventually get a lot of recurring revenue or sell it or something, everyone who's put the time in will be rewarded. And that's where our team has been awesome, because everyone sees the value in it and everyone sees the potential kind of value of our company. Because like I said to you, is there a safe place to charge your battery? It's like, no. And we need to solve that because fires are happening, and there are problems with it. It's inconvenient. And so especially finding people in the Netherlands who see that problem, they're like, yeah, I want to be a part of this. And that's been really cool. So everyone has been really dedicated to the journey.
How did you solve the problem? Because I still sometimes, especially when I do also startup in AI right now, it's like work-life balance in the Netherlands also. Yes, and it's something like opposite to,
the Netherlands culture of, working to live, not living to work. Yeah. It's been tough, to be honest. Like, it's been 3 years of working way more than I probably should, working probably double the average hours of the average Dutch person. I think
you just covered it, yes, but with you and your business partner, right? So I think it's about what you could.
You definitely have to sacrifice your free time. I think like after work, there is no after work. It's just straight into work, and it's, unless you get really lucky with like a company, like something that just takes off and doesn't take a lot of your time. Yeah, unfortunately, that is kind of the downfalls of entrepreneurship. And I think it is, Jake and I always joke and say, if it was easy, everyone would do it, right?
Absolutely. This is what I always thought.
Yeah.
Also tell, like, if it's easy to be entrepreneur, then everyone becomes an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But it's not like that. We know that.
Yeah, no, it's
bloody hard.
It's way harder than I thought, especially in the hardware business. I'm not saying software isn't hard, but being in the hardware business is something else. It's developing out, especially we're developing out a new product that didn't exist, with no knowledge of like building products.
Yeah.
And as I was telling you earlier, it was one of the reasons why I kind of, after leaving Tesla, picked up and moved to Asia, so that we could be there, travel to the factory, and be there with the same time zone to work with them. Because while it may seem easy, like you just say, build me this, you have to think of all the scenarios. You have to make sure the parts are certified and working and everything works together, and that you can build it properly. And if there's problems, you need to remake it, but then it costs money to remake it. And so you need to make sure it works the first time. And it's been a lot of work for us to get to this point, for sure.
But you can't just hire some kind of or get some advice from expert and say, okay, listen, I want to build this kind of business, right? So please tell me, so I'm going to pay for it. But when it doesn't exist,
exactly.
You have to, have so much stuff that has to be solved, right? You have a lot of attempts, right? So to make it happen.
No, you're exactly right. It's tough, because if we were making, let's say, designer cups or something, right? We know how to make cups. They've been made for thousands of years. So you could figure out a way and use existing techniques. But for us, it was really building something new. And that was really our philosophy when we started, was there were some competitors on the market, but they were focused more for, they were developed by fire engineers or stuff like that.
I see.
We really wanted to make ours practical and make it from like a cyclist perspective. Because you can make the best product in the world, make it super safe, but if it's not practical to use and nobody uses it, you don't have a product, right? So it was really important for us to build something first that would be used by cyclists, could be used easily, had the features that they needed. And then what the other industries that we could potentially sell into, that we were future-proofed from that. And that's what took us so long to develop
This is a
out.
big problem. You know, when I work in and live in Rotterdam, as I said, so, and we have like 300 startups nearby. You know, sometimes people come and say and ask how to become an entrepreneur. What is a problem? I mean, what we can. The idea is great, right? Everyone has an idea, but as you said. So if it's a business doesn't solve a problem, real problem, then it's. It becomes problem, so you can't just get attraction, you can't get investment, you can't get customers, because if there's a problem doesn't exist, or if it's done badly also, right, it doesn't solve properly or partly, it's also a problem. So, because, idea is great, but
making it happen is tough. And you're right. For us, even now, it's like our biggest problem is just letting people know our product exists, letting people know that there is a solution. So we know that there's so many companies out there all over Europe and North America, but in the Netherlands where the safety guy said no charging on desks anymore. Booking.com is one of them where they told their whole campus office no charging in the office anymore, right? And especially when e-biking is a means of transportation and the transportation method for a lot of people. They don't have cars. They might not have easy access to public transit. So e-biking is their method. And when you take that away and you say you can't charge anymore, you're taking away like a part of somebody's life. And so we need to get out to those people and say, hey, we've solved this problem. Here it is. But how do you do that? How do you get out to people? And how do you show them that a product exists to a problem they know they have, but they don't think of a solution that could solve that problem?
Like marketing, you mean like part of that is probably to be more aware.
Yeah, exactly.
To get more awareness from that part.
Exactly. So.
Yeah, but it's like it's next stage. Some people even some entrepreneurs even don't go to this stage because they still don't even solve a problem. It doesn't matter if it's like a hard software or hardware solution. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I want to also discuss, because it's also for me it's always been a challenge in the Netherlands to get some also. Like investment stuff, like how to raise a capital. Yeah. It's not the same like in the US, because I also have a couple of companies in the US. It's a different culture. It's more like like a private offices, venture capital, like more there, like also like business angels as well. But in the Netherlands, I think it's a different. If you can share your
I could talk about this for hours. This is what we're going through right now. So we operate a public charging network in Amsterdam already that are being used by normal cyclists, riders like you and me at certain places, but also for delivery couriers, right? So we have that in Amsterdam, where the delivery couriers now are doing swapping for their own batteries because they were previously charging the batteries at home or carrying a second battery around with them. And we have that network that's working really well in Amsterdam. We're looking to expand that network to everywhere in Europe because we know this is a problem. Where there is no really swapping for e-bike batteries for delivery couriers. There's no safe charging practices. And I'll get to your point in a second because I'm leading the story up there. So what's happening is delivery riders will get together, 20 of them or so, and they'll rent a cheap apartment, like in central London or in Lisbon or Barcelona, and they'll have power cables everywhere in each outlet with power bars charging all their batteries so that they can do their own swapping during the day, right? And that's happening. It's super dangerous. Think about if you lived above an apartment where 20 batteries were being charged daily, you would be scared, right? It's crazy.
Yeah, because it can happen like fire quite easily, right? I mean,
and so we know this is a problem. We're trying to solve this and expand and to go to all the other European markets. And to do that, we need investment. So we are going through our investment kind of round right now, and it has been extremely difficult because there is the side of VC where it's almost like a kind of gate kept. Oops, that's my comment. There's the the VC side, which is almost like a gate-kept kind of like community where it's really hard to break into and get VC investment sometimes, because you can go to a bunch of VC websites, they don't even have a contact me form. They don't have a way to contact them. It's crazy. So you have to know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody to get you the intro. And so going through the fundraising myself right now has been kind of discouraging, that you finally find a way to get to somebody, contact them, do your deck, and you get a response saying, we're only investing in AI right now. Right? And that I have 15, 20 messages in my email.
Yes, because they don't like, it's a big hype right now. Unfortunately, yes, because it's really like a big noise for me, like, right, for you as well. I do love AI, and I also do some, but I see like everyone like really like big boom. But from the other side, you have a great startup, really, because you solve real problems that people have, right? It's just not the bubble. And it's hard because because of this noise. Yes, it's very hard for you to have that attention from potential investors, right, to get it.
And so when you go to VCs, and we've had hour-long conversations with VCs that are hardware focused, and they've said, we're kind of shifting our thesis towards more AI stuff. And you're like, oh man, this is so tough. And those are the ones, like, especially the American ones, that were typically like, we love this idea, let's go, right? Let's go for it. Then you have the Netherlands, where they're way more risk averse, right? And there is a lot of risk in hardware. There's a lot of upside for sure, because once you put down hardware and it stays, you have long-term kind of financials of an asset that's making you money. But there is a risk in hardware, and the Dutch are quite risk averse when it comes to investing. And that's pretty well-known fact, I think, in the industry. So it is definitely a difficult market to be in with hardware in an AI bubble in a risk-averse kind of society. With that being said, we also have a problem that directly affects Dutch people. So this is where now we're kind of looking at kind of more angel investment, getting people to come on board and that see the vision. Again, our problem is just getting in front of those people. So it's been tough for us as a company and to navigate that, especially as somebody who has no VC experience, no experience in that world. It is hard to crack into that world. But I was speaking with a VC yesterday, and I said this openly to her, and she said, but we all start that way. You have to build yourself up and get connections and do it, and nobody's just born into the VC world, right? You build up who you speak to, and you connect with them, and they connect with you with people. And I'm already starting to see that traction of like 2 or 3 months of like full-time fundraising work. I'm already starting to see that, we're actually getting actively referred to by companies that are now interested, by people that I spoke with 2 months ago that have actually stuck by their word and said, I spoke with somebody who I think this would be a good fit for you, and they've put us forward in touch with them. So it takes time for sure.
I just want to tell the entrepreneurs who are going to listen to us and watch our podcast that it's a full-time job, to be honest, right? To get to raise the capital, it's not just easy. For sure, if you have like a really great network already, or you have some exits, it can be helpful, because then you got attraction that you are successful entrepreneur. It would be much easier, but it's not also guaranteed, because if you're not Elon Musk, for instance, that just pick up a phone and just get capital quite easily.
Exactly.
So then it's body hard, to be honest, for me also to got some capital, really. And what would you recommend, or what would you, if someone wants to open a business and raise a capital in the Netherlands, what would you suggest?
The first thing I would suggest is get a kick-ass partner. I don't know how I would have done this alone, to be honest with you. So my co-founder Jake has been an absolute machine, working his full-time job, raising a kid, and doing PowerShelter work, right? And so we've both really worked well together over the years, and I genuinely don't know if I could have done it alone, really. So my biggest recommendation to any entrepreneur is find somebody who can help you along the way. Genuinely, like it helps so much having a separate kind of opinion or a separate like viewpoint on something, and having somebody that you can, when you're going through a hard time, they can take up a little bit more. When they're going through a hard time, you can take up a little bit more, and that's probably my biggest recommendation is finding somebody that can help you with that.
Yeah, they can help to prepare a pitch deck, right? They can introduce like some kind of network of investors. Yeah, for sure, it makes sense, because then at the very beginning, because you have so much stuff to do together, right?
Yeah.
From one side, you have to build your startup. From other side, you have to raise a capital, because you need money to be able to to grow, and just to pay salaries, also employees and some other costs. So and everything like on the same time, right? So if you, I totally agree. It's a nice way, because my way was like I try to do it myself, but I realized like, okay, if I do, I have to do it properly, because you can't just send a couple of emails per day and just wait and someone comes and say, okay, Vadim, let's invest in your startup. For sure, if you have some kind of unique technologies or even like that, but how to they don't know about that. Yes, they don't know about you and me or us. Yes, because it's how it works. Because I was, to be honest, a little bit naive.
Yeah, I think that's good. Like a little bit of naivety is good, because that's how you learn, right? When you get hit with something, and then you remember that happened and it works, and then it's good to go in a little bit naive, but there's also, you don't know what you don't know. We always say that, right? And every opportunity is a learning experience. But having somebody that can experience that with you or remind you of your naivety before, that's really good. I think, and then just to follow up your question in terms of like fundraising advice, I mean, that's something I'm always looking for as well. So I'm probably not the best person to say, hey, here's what I can advise. What I can tell people is that I think it's important you just keep pushing at it. Like I said, we're already starting to see companies where I'll go to them and they say, yeah, we've already heard of you. Getting out there, posting on LinkedIn, just getting out there, doing these kind of things, engaging.
It makes sense.
It's super, super important, because you can be alone at home and have an amazing product, but again, if people don't see you, see the person, see the vision and the goal, that's tough. And VCs, I mean, I think their biggest thing is they invest in the people, not the product, right? The people are what make it happen. And there's so many,
at the very beginning, especially, right? Because when you have no traction, you can just start.
Exactly.
They only believe if you really, and they want to see it. Sometimes, like I know the companies, like they just raise the capital, only like having a prototype in Figma. Why? Because they just sold it. They just been so confident as a team, and it's done. But it's hard.
Exactly.
Really.
No, totally. And I think can put people out of their comfort zone a lot, right? So if you are kind of like the introverted person, or don't feel like can't go out and socialize, that's okay. It's not like you're not going to get investment, but I think it will maybe add a little bit of a challenge. So that's maybe we're finding somebody who, I really think a lot of good startups are ones that have like the engineer technical mind, and then like the social kind of businessy person to kind of, again, bounce the things off of each other. So I keep going back to that. It's like find a partner where together you can really work well, and that's.
So I want to say, like VC, if you're watching us right now, so please contact Brett to help with raising capital, because it's a great company, really. So you solve really real problems that it's safe, first of all, because as I said, so you never know if you leave someone like down, just created some kind of stuff also to charging downstairs, for instance. Totally. You never know.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not properly safe.
It's something that also I think is
charging.
I think it's also something that's helping this transition. So as we start to see cities like London, Paris, Barcelona, New York, all these places start to move more to cycling, more to urban mobility, e-mobility, it's something that's desperately needed to help kind of continue that and push it along, right? So for me, again, when I was speaking to you earlier, I said, I love cars, but I don't think they have a place as much as they do right now. And I think making a society and a city that is for people rather than for cars, you make the city better. And you make the place better, because you create these interactions. And a amazing YouTube series that I can recommend is Not Just Bikes. I don't know if you've ever watched him. He's a Canadian guy that moved to the Netherlands and talks about urban planning concepts and how much it affects your daily life. People generally don't care how they get from A to B, right? So most people care about time. That's the first thing. Then price is the second one, and comfort is third. And what e-bikes have been able to do to society as they've come down in cost is they've been able to make people go from A to B just as fast and sometimes even faster than cars. So time aspect solved. It's been cheaper than owning a car, which is super expensive and price inhibitive to a lot of people, especially lower income people. Now we've solved the price aspect with e-bikes. And comfort, I mean, biking in nice weather is amazing. Biking in shit weather can still be amazing if you dress to the occasion, right? And you still get that exercise and a little bit. And so e-bikes have been able to shift the modality of people in cities. And by installing bike lanes and places where people can e-bike and commute, we reduce congestion, we reduce air quality. Absolutely. But most importantly, we get people on the street and in community, right? And so when I was telling you before we started having this chat was about Canada, one of my biggest problems is the car dependency there and how separated you become from society because you're in your little metal box going from A to B. And then the only interaction you have is at the time. So you don't have window shopping where you have people walking, which means you have less businesses on the street, which means you have malls, right? And so you don't have that sense of community where there's a little corner store, a little local pub or anything like you do in Europe. And that's where getting people out of cars, especially in cities, to shift to walking, to biking, to e-biking, e-mobility is really important for society. And if we continue having fires or not proper charging spaces for people, we're already starting to see it become like a scapegoat to say, okay, let's ban all e-bikes because they're having fires, or, you know, it's counterproductive to what we as humans need in community and we want, even if we don't necessarily know we want it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And also it's very good, you know, it saves a lot of money, right? Because it's also like if you use car or you use metro, for instance, or tram, yes, you have to pay, right? It's also costly. And for me, bike, it's always like something that, you know, sometimes I also want to stop and stare. And sometimes it's quite easy, right? So you can always stop, so almost somewhere. Like,
you run into somebody you know on the street, you can stop and talk to them, right?
Yeah, it's so easy, right?
Yeah, totally.
To stop and just to buy something like that you can't never do like by car, because simply impossible.
So I do a lot of like little projects at home to keep on the side of business, little things like home improvement and stuff. And sometimes I need to buy like parts, like let's say a certain screw or a certain tool or something. Here I can just hop on my e-bike, 1 minute to the store, 1 minute back. If I forget something, 1 minute back. Where I know I've spoken to my dad who has to drive 25 minutes in his car to go to the big Home Depot and buy a part. And if he forgets something, another hour, 25 minutes there, 25 minutes back, right?
And no other way,
No other way, right? And we live pretty central in where I'm from. And so, yeah, it's for me just that aspect of being able to commute easily, being able to stop at places, being able to go to the bar and having a few drinks and not having to worry about it. You know, you shouldn't endorse that, but it's a reality, right? A bike accident is way less dangerous than a car accident, right?
Absolutely. By the way, do you know some statistics about that stuff? Because I never thought about that. But I mean,
there's so many statistics. I don't want to quote myself, but I can just like from when you think about you want to go out and party when you're, let's say, living in North America at 21, right? But you live in a small town with no public transit. How do you get to the bar? If there's no Uber, no taxis, you drive, right? And what are you going to go there and not drink at that age? And so it's a real problem. Whereas here you can walk to the bars, you can bike to the bars, and you have that ability. And so it's generally just safer like that. So places like Helsinki, I think this year have reported that they've had no traffic-related fatalities at all. None.
Amazing.
Right? And you could not say the same about other cities where there's car dependency, right? And so I think just creating that culture around not car dependency makes it so many advantages to people in general. And that's what we should be striving for. We'll always need a need for cars outside of cities or doing car sharing in cities and stuff like that. But even if you look at Amsterdam, we're starting to remove a lot of car spaces, right? It's like thousands per year we're removing. And we're building plants and mini forests and rewilding these areas, and these neighborhoods where this is happening here is amazing. But if you look at the old streets now where it's just filled with cars that are only used 5% of the time, and we dedicate 50% of our land to these metal boxes that are never used, that only higher, like richer people can afford, that's a problem in my mind. So yeah, that's one of the reasons, like behind our company, we see it as we're helping society by enabling e-mobility usage. So
I mean, idea is really great because it's very important, especially here. But it's not only here, but like also in what are your plans for expanding in the Europe probably? What would be the next country? What do you think?
We have our home version, home shelter, which is name pending, which we're going to be releasing to allow people at home to have a kind of wall mountable box that they'll be able to safely charge their battery in, which we think will be really good. We want to continue our kind of B2B sales, so bring on resellers and referral partners, so people trust. So a really cool statistic that I learned at Tesla was it was something like 95% of our sales to customers came through resellers, because people in Europe generally trust their local electrician, their local plumber, a lot more than companies.
Yes.
It's the exact opposite in the US, where 95% or 90% of the sales for the Powerwalls were through direct sales, but people buying it from Tesla. So we're shifting ourselves to that model where we're saying, let's partner with EV companies, EV installers, bike parking people, architecture people, to get in on the ground floor and make our product a standard. Because eventually there will be a mandatory standard that says if you want to allow charging at your building, it needs to be done in a charging cabinet or in a safe way.
Yeah, properly.
It's a matter of time, and we know that because we're working with insurance companies and we speak with the government, and we know this is on its way. So we want to get to the point where our B2B side is just handled by our resellers and referral partners, and we just make the hardware, but then operate our own networks, right? So by partnering with couriers, delivery companies, last mile logistics, my goal is to have us as the standard, the charging company for e-mobility, whether it's at home, at work, or on the go. Right?
It's small, it's shared, also not small, but I think it's a really great idea because I was thinking about that whole idea. It's really, to tell the truth, it's like that. If you buy something, I see a lot of local spots, right?
Yeah.
And people really trust them.
Yeah.
It's a really great idea.
So what happens with like e-mobility hubs right now is we've had a lot of companies try and do e-mobility hubs where they've had like shared bikes and stuff. But we think one of the biggest problems has been the charging aspect, because you have these hubs, but you don't really have a way to charge them. You might have, again, the cables sticking out, but then people can steal the chargers, or there's fire risk and it's not safe. My goal would be to have mobility hubs all around the city where people can remove that charging aspect from their business. So if I'm a small, let's say, I have a buddy that opened a bagel shop and he started doing, here in Amsterdam, shout out Breadwinner, he started doing deliveries on his e-bike, but he charges in his bakery, right? As you build up your fleet of little micro mobility logistics, what if you didn't have to charge and store all your bikes at your little bakery, and could instead keep it at a place really nearby, a micro mobility hub, where you had the ability to charge your battery? You could swap it mid-shift to keep on the deliveries and have that place and remove it from your actual business. That's what we're striving to get to from our perspective. So.
I think it's a strong part of business model. It's going to work definitely, because it is something that really convenient, because as you said, so it's also like if it's going to be easy to charge, right? Or to I don't know, to change it sometimes, like or to replace a battery quite fast, right? Then it's more convenient for people to use it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's what we want to do. And with e-mobility and e-logistics in cities, where we're already seeing the biggest companies in the world, like DHL, Amazon, shift to these like smaller cargo bike cars, because you can do more deliveries. You don't have to take up the whole way, and you don't need to block a whole car path and stop and find parking and all of that. It's more efficient for them to do, and it's cheaper because you don't need to maintain a big truck. You have like a little electric bike. And so one of the caveats of that is the battery range, and so we're helping to solve that. So it would be so cool eventually. You see Amsterdam city center will be carless, right? Where it'll just be
for sure
biking on the streets. It'll be little cargo bikes and stuff making deliveries, and then the odd moving truck or something where they've already allocated spaces for those in the future. And so imagine if we all lived in cities where there was no traffic, where it was like kids could play on the street or have parks and it's quiet. Like even in Amsterdam, you see how quiet it is here compared to when you go anywhere else in Europe. It's just so nice. And so,
especially with the speed limit also as well. But it's already came to Rotterdam, but it's not properly done yet. But I read a couple of days ago also they want to have like
30. Just reducing speed limits in cities to 30 reduces CO2 emissions. It has reduced the number of fatalities by, I don't know the exact number, but I know that you're like 2 or 3 times more likely to die if you get hit by a car at going 50 versus 30. Already it's like
it's a big difference. Absolutely, yes.
You feel safer on the street as well. So I think what'll happen eventually is we'll have streets in Amsterdam or hopefully the rest of Europe that are kind of shared spaces. You might already see on the streets where it says auto te gast, which means like cars are guests. Eventually we'll be sharing it with like e-mobility, micromobility, and cars all in one, all going the same speed and working together, right? So
okay, if we are going to finish our podcast, if you can also tell the people who are considering to move to the Netherlands, what would you tell them? What would be your advice?
Do it.
Just do it.
Yes, it's scary, especially if it's your first time leaving a country. It was scary for me too. When I first moved to France, but you really do, you have one life, right? And I know not everyone has the luxury of just being able to pick up and move, right? But if you do have that ability to pick up and move, do it, because I think there's so much to learn from the Netherlands. Even if you do stay here only for a little bit and go back home, you can apply some principles of society here that I think are really good for people-oriented, business-oriented. I personally love it here. I never want to leave. And I think when you come here, you experience a completely new life, right? In every Dutch city, most of them, there's canals, right? You can go on a boat ride on a Saturday afternoon. Like how many other cities can you do that, right? You can buy a boat for a couple €100 like I did. And just you can do that. You can experience biking around with your friends. You can meet new people because they're so international. And you have a country where you're really well protected from like a socially like benefit side. So you don't have to have that anxiety of if something happens, I lose my job, do I lose my health care? It's like, no, you're still protected. Yes, the government will help you get back on your feet and get back into the workforce at your own time and own speed. And that's something that I think is really valuable because the Dutch work, I think it's the least on average of anyone else in the world, but they're also one of the most productive. Right, and I think those are correlated.
Like everything's in order, but it works.
And it works. And so, I would recommend anyone that wants to move here, do it. Obviously, do your research, know what it's going to be, know that housing can be tough to find. Look for a company that might help you find a 30% ruling before you come to take advantage of that, because it is really help you settle in to do that. But ultimately, just do it.
Yeah, so if you're looking for, people who are watching right now our podcast, if you're looking for moving to the Netherlands, please also let us know in Unicity. So we are going to help you with the, soft landing. We have soft landing programs for entrepreneurs, like to move from personal to professional stuff, because it's also a lot of personal stuff, like how to get a tax number, like open a business account or just a personal bank account. For instance, if you have a pregnant wife, for instance, if you don't know how to sort it out, it's because it's a lot of stuff to do. So
moving is stressful, and if you can kind of remove that stress aspect and just worry about the actual moving, it definitely can help.
We are going to help it in the city. And thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
It was really nice to talk to you about
your first time too. So also nice work on your first one. So
thank you.
You better watch out. He might take your job.